All right, day two. Let's see how we can get this going. Let's refresh our Twitch here. Don't really need that anymore. Okay, so the last time, for a quick overview, we used ChatGPT to kind of create a basic game design document. Um, for us, this document kind of just keeps things organized, at least keeps me organized a little bit. So I know what I'm working on. It's going to get huge as I go through. ChatGPT will only do so much text for you or in so much of a document just because of limitations for your subscription level. So I'm at the plus subscription level, which I'm paying $20 a month, so it's not going to write a whole lot for me. It'll probably get a decent page or so. You can add to it as you go, but I usually like to use it just to kind of make a quick outline, copy paste, and put it in another document and have ChatGPT kind of build from there. Today we'll be kind of reviewing what we did yesterday. Yesterday we kind of created a character. Our sprites aren't really going to be what we're going to use in the future. Right now I'm just using something as a placeholder that I got from itch.io just to kind of get the feel of how to actually use Godot and figure things out that way. We got the player created. We got the player moving around a little bit. We also made something for it to interact with. I just got some chests from itch.io as well, just to get kind of a basic interaction going to see if I could get that done with ChatGPT. What I did notice yesterday, ChatGPT had a little bit of an issue. Had a little bit of an issue. Looks like we've got had a little bit of an issue. Kind of some double going on here. Okay, ChatGPT had a little bit of an issue kind of with context and going through. And it's really not ChatGPT's fault. It's more my fault, not really knowing where to go in the next step. So I think this time we're going to try and use ChatGPT to find some outside information instead of just stay within ChatGPT. Um, but we will use ChatGPT to do the research for us, so on and so forth. So what I do want to do here is start my quick chat transparent chat thing here just to see if anybody does hop in. I can pay attention while we're in different environments. Okay. So to start today's session as well, we're going to try and recreate what we did yesterday from memory to a point. I like to kind of rehash things a couple times just so I don't have to worry about remembering it later or having to refer back to things. If I do the same action a couple times over, I usually have it enough to not really have to worry about it later. So we are going to create a new project for the sake of trying to see what I remember. No, we want. Let's leave it as test here. We'll set this as our current folder and we will create. All this out of the way here. So for the last time with ChatGPT as well, all the conversations were saved. It won't retain the context as well in a second session, but you can always have it refer back to your original session if you want to. Let us use. We were looking at YouTube growth tips. We don't really need that. We also designed our little logo. The logo will change in the future as well, but I needed to get something slapped up for YouTube. Okay. So let's do a brief overview, kind of how this process worked yesterday. First, we created our entity. Our entity is there for the purpose of kind of assisting us in a little easier manner, in a little easier to understand manner than just ChatGPT innately. So let's see what we got here. Our entity's name was Nova. All right, we did like the Nova name. Here we kind of had it begin creating the outline for the document. So I wanted a separate document, not just for ChatGPT to spit the info. I also wanted it to create a document. If you don't give it the context, sometimes it will just spit the info. All we did, if I remember on the next, is create document for it. ChatGPT can create a ton of different documents, spreadsheets. You can get just a text notepad form document as well. I believe PowerPoint's also. I haven't played with the PowerPoint thing in a while. I haven't, so I'm not sure how well it works. Um, as we continue here, we see we got the beginning. So I already had the name, I already had the basic kind of idea of what I want the game to be, top down, 2D, roguelite, sandboxy. We'll see how far we can get with that. Um, it could be, since this is the first game I'm creating, the scope is likely going to be a lot smaller uh, than what you might be expecting, or what I would actually like to do. You know, you get all these great ideas for a game. And, oh, I want to throw this in, throw this in, throw this in, and logistically it doesn't really work too well because I don't really know what I'm doing. Um, so we're going to try and piece this together bit by bit and just see how that ends up working. All right, so our title was the Obsidian Mantle. Started brainstorming some ideas. Yeah, we got it set. Yep, the top-down 2D roguelike. I like the dystopian dark fantasy idea. I always kind of wanted to see a game where you're playing elves and orcs and dwarves, all that good stuff, and it's kind of got that the dystopian organization, you know, Big Brother watching out. I thought that'd be kind of an interesting concept to clash together. Okay, targeting PC. Yep. This is just a lot of the base info. A lot of this will change in the game design document, such as basic abilities, things like that. This is move, attack, dodge, interact. Very simple skills. My big idea for this, and a big idea, is kind of a skill-based progression instead of your typical linear leveling system per se. You know, I don't really care too much for having the character level up, but I thought it'd be interesting to more focus on skills. You know, necromancy, pyromancy, archery, things like that, and work on that skill level versus or things that interact with that skills. You know, if we're doing the roguelite, may not be too much space for a character to grow throughout the, you know, a 30-40 minute run. If we want to keep it that short, I might try and make it a longer kind of adventure roguelite. We'll see how that works. But I did like the alternate leveling idea. A lot of this will be base info. I'm just kind of reviewing this for myself to see where I left off, see what all we got done. Do quick, and this is where we began the Godot stuff. Okay, so from here, I'm going to try and rock through creating a character again and getting it to move without, or at least from memory. The code I haven't memorized, of course. Code is something I think I'm just going to learn throughout the process. ChatGPT is going to do a lot for me in that department, but it's not always going to be able to do things that I want or be creative with things that I want. I don't even know what I would need at this point, so it would be difficult for it to write the entire game. But as we go, that'll happen on its own. I guess. Not really sure. So let's get into Godot here. 2D scene is what we're looking for. Let's move our chat down. Okay, no T2D. Let us name this game as just kind of the overall scene. Let's add a child node. Character body 2D. So, from what I understand, our character body is essentially the node for said character. Now, what'll happen here is I'm going to get this the warning. It means we don't have a shape for the character. So, based off of kind of what I've figured out so far, this Godot system is primarily working in nodes. For me, that seems just very, very easy and intuitive. I know what the node is, I know what it's doing, and then I can assign code to whatever node or whatever node tree or group, however it's classified. I can kind of assign that there. So I know we have our character body now. Now I know we need to give it an actual shape. To the poly, what was it under? It's probably in the warning message. Collision. All right, we need to give it our collision shape. There we go. Okay, let us define it as rectangular, and let's hold it for a moment. Now I know we need to assign the actual sprite. Let's go here. Sprites. Okay. Let us go to our assets folder. That is not it. Desktop Godot. So all these assets are things I've just gotten from free packs on itch.io. I do think we do want to do as much AI generation as possible. So we'll try and see how well ChatGPT can handle the pixel art and see if we can keep it consistent, or at least the theme consistent. I'm gonna assume it'll not be very consistent, but I'm gonna try and be hopeful. I'm gonna see just how much of this ChatGPT can help me with. Um, if it's not very consistent, we'll maybe use some other online generators, stick to some packs. Definitely not drawing anything on my own because that would be an absolute disaster. So we may end up purchasing assets later if we need. I think we'll try and keep this game as free as possible. That's not something I'm planning on throwing up for any kind of money anytime soon. So we'll keep it more of a learning project for the time being. So character pack, boom, let's just slap that in there. So this isn't the file structure I was using yesterday. I'm just kind of throwing this in really quickly to see how it ends up working for me. Okay, got my sprites. Boom, let's go to V2. Oh, this is the guy we were using yesterday. Now, I believe, if I remember, we have to add this 2D sprite. Yes. And this here is what we're going to attach our sprite model to, our artwork to. Let's see, this is running around. Very good. Okay. Got everything I need. Now we have to actually add the collision shape. Let's get this a little bigger. Bam, bam. Thank you, ma'am. So the interesting thing about ChatGPT is you can always refer back to it. So we're going to do that here in a little bit for the code. Um, but I like its learning style as well. You can really tailor it to how you want it to teach you. If you want it to, be motivational in its speech, tell it to be motivational. Give it that context and tone. If you want it to be, more scholarly, if you're trying to emulate a professor in your classroom, it can emulate those tones for you. One thing I was playing around with a couple weeks ago was the new voice options that are available. If I can find them here. Yeah, here, use voice mode. Voice mode's awesome. We'll go ahead and talk to ChatGPT. Allow while visiting sites. ChatGPT, how are you today? ChatGPT, how goes it today?
Hey there, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How's your day going?
See, that's wonderful. It'll pretty much voice to text anything that it responds with. Really good on my phone actually. Not so intuitive here with the desktop, but if I'm trying to get some information, just quick and easy on the phone. If I'm driving, to be honest, put it on the speaker mode while I'm it's in the passenger seat, and I talk, and it'll kind of spit it out aloud. Um, so that's something you can use as well for learning and kind of exploring what it can do. Okay, so where were we at? Yes. Character body. Let's just kind of get it a little general here. Boom. Okay. It's scrolls. so I can remember. What is this guy? All right, that's just our sprite size. Seems a little larger than yesterday, but at least the surrounding box seems a little larger than yesterday. But we shall see. As far as the sprite box, doesn't need to be super perfect now. Okay, now I need to assign our input map. So one thing I was going off of yesterday was the built-in actions. They're already kind of preset and built, but I wasn't really paying attention to our UI select. So these would be our actions with the user interface. I don't want that. So I can manually filter by name if I was looking correctly. Um, let's see how this works here. Filter by name. Let's just go up. Maybe we add the new action up. Yeah, that's looking right. Down. So yesterday I was trying to play around with the mouse movement or mouse interaction. I think that's where I want to go with it eventually. But for the sake of this, let's just keep it at a simple WASD. Okay. So we have the actions, but I'm not sure how to assign. You know what we do? We use our trusty friend here, Nova. Nova, are you here? I always like to kind of double check. Yep, Nova is there. I like to double check that it saves the context. I've had some issues with the memory saving with ChatGPT, but typically if it gets added to the localized memory state, I'm not sure what else I would call it, but if it gets added there, it will stay and kind of try and remember that context. Doesn't always work 100%. If they do updates and things like that, it kind of I've noticed it kind of gets weird with it, but Nova is here and available. So let's ask it a question. I am trying to, without using too much outside source, trying to figure out how to actually add my button mapping. And there it is. There's a big old plus button. So I do not need ChatGPT for that. If I just looked a little deeper, it would have been fine. But if I needed to, I want to showcase an example for it. Nova. I am trying to assign my inputs for, let's just do in the input map in Godot for, can you please give me a detailed description of how I would do so? Now, here's some cool things you can do with ChatGPT. You can kind of help format what you're looking for, or you can get kind of laser focused in on what exactly you need. I'm asking it to give me a detailed explanation of inputs and input mapping. It'll probably give me a little bit more information than what I'm looking for, but that's fine. Take all the info you can when you're using it, and let's kind of see where we spit out here. Yeah, see, so it's going to start kind of going a little bit into what the input map is, which for the sake of what I need and what I'm learning for or trying to learn, this is exactly how I want ChatGPT or Nova right now in this instance to be helping me out. We already kind of knew where we need to go with the input map, but that's just fine. So it'll give you kind of a brief, detailed explanation or a brief overview. Give you your step by steps. Open the project. It'll give even your shortcut keys or default keys. So we have boom, 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 assigning the keys with the mouse, and then removing inputs. Here, this is interesting. Let's see what we got here. So this looks like some new information for us. Using input actions in Godot script. Once your inputs are set up, you can easily reference them in code using input is action pressed or similar functions. Pro tip for better input management. Yeah, this is wonderful. This is why I like ChatGPT. I started looking for how to find an input map or how to add my inputs to the input map in Godot, and it's starting to give me extra, but it still stays within the context of the input map, so it's not jumping all around the world. I'm learning a little bit here, something brand new. So we're also going to ask this to kind of clarify and dig a little deeper, just so I can get some more info myself. So group-related inputs use prefixes like player underscore jump or player underscore tag for clarity. So Nova, explain further from your response that began with using input actions. Explain further. So let's see where we end up getting. Let's go. Here's something that's interesting as well. As you use ChatGPT, you are going to occasionally get something like this, where it's going to talk about your different responses. I always like to play around with responses. It kind of will shape the future of the conversation a little bit, in a sense. If you change the context from one to another, see, let's take this for instance, our basic input functions in Godot. I believe this is because I asked such a broad explanation, nothing too pointed. It's trying to figure out what info I would want or what I wouldn't want. I could be very wrong, but we shall see here. Okay, basic input functions in Godot. When you set up the actions of the input map, you can interact with new keys. Okay, so input is action pressed, action names, checks if the action is currently being held down. And then over here we have checking for, so it's kind of given the same bit here, but I like use cases here. I kind of like the simplicity of this guy a little bit more. So we're just kind of going to go with this response here. This guy is longer, um, but we're going to go with our left response here. Okay. So let's start from the top. When you set up actions in the input map, I'm also going to be speed reading a lot of this and referring back to it later to get just kind of general ideas, general context, and then when it's needed, I'll pull it as I go. We are still trying to learn in this process. Instead of really kind of make the game, I'm not too worried about getting the game made. I'm really more worried about kind of learning kind of how to use Godot, where I need to put things, what I don't need to do in the interface, things like that. For the first couple weeks, I think I'm going to kind of keep it that way. So we'll be, trying to make a character 100 different times, maybe 100 different ways. Same with, making a map, a grid-based system, things like that. We're going to try and make it, destroy it, and make it back again, just to kind of build that repetition. So let's see here. Basic input functions in Godot. When you set up actions in the input map, you can interact with them using key functions. So input is action pressed. So this code, as it is kind of explaining, is checking if the action is currently being held down. Moving a player while holding down the movement keys. So here would be an example of said code. So here's our note. Input action is pressed, move left, position, speed. Okay, and we're using this for continuous actions like walking, aiming, or charging and attack. Very good. So if okay. Input is action just pressed action down. Returns true once only when the key is initially pressed down, triggering a jump or interacting with an object. Okay, so from what I'm understanding is if I'm just hitting the space bar real quick, I'm doing a quick jump. Instead of hitting the space bar and floating into space, for instance, it's just quick jump top to bottom. Yeah, single actions like jump and shooting or opening a menu. Very good. Input action just release returns true only once the key is released after being pressed. Charging an attack and releasing it. What other things would that be for? Maybe sprinting? Yeah, maybe something will happen after sprinting. Or toggling abilities, dropping objects. Yeah, got it. Player movements and interactions. Here's a basic movement interaction using these same functions. So variable speed obviously is how fast we're going to be moving. I'm curious to see what the code actually means, and I haven't tried this yet, but I'm going to paste this code in because I am trying to learn. I'm going to paste this code in and ask it to explain the code to me. And I'm curious to see kind of what the input or return will be. So here's a quick paste of our code. Did we get everything in there? I just wanted to make sure. Print, interact with object. All right. Oh, I did not mean to hit enter there. Oh, it's already doing a quick code review. So this is more so explaining. Can you go? Let's let it finish up. It looks like it's doing a quick analysis of the code or trying to add to said code. Yeah, potential improvements. So this is wonderful. I love this with ChatGPT. Copy paste your code, slap it in there for the first time, and it's going to start giving you things it can fix. I mean, and this is code ChatGPT wrote, so it's trying to kind of self fix itself. Um, I'm so interested in the idea of like feedback loops for AI. You know, just complete self improvement, go go go. It gets a little sketchy when you think about it from top down. You know, if you just give some AI, it's or a language model, it's full autonomy to keep learning and bettering itself. It can get kind of nuts. Um, I would like I would like a full explanation of the previous I can't spell provided. Please let's do this. Let's go line by line for each and let's go line by line. Let's just see how that kind of turns. I could have probably made that a little bit more specific, but that's fine. Okay, full code with a line by line explanation. This is what's great about ChatGPT. Tell it what you want, it's going to give it back to you. Um, to kind of help your process instead of just throwing a big old prompt in there. I do a lot of this um, as far as my workflow when I'm using ChatGPT for making bots and things like that. Instead of just slapping it in there because I don't really have a whole lot of token usage or maximum token usage. I only get so much. I kind of break the prompt down a little bit, you know, and try and break out the information that it's going to send so it doesn't go super crazy. Because this bit it spit out is as far as it's going to go. If you play around and test, you might be able to get it to spit a little bit more. I've done that in the past where, you know, I can get it to give us a little bit more information instead of its base, but it's only going to go with so many characters typically, and you can mess around with the context to get it to go further, but it's kind of it's better to break things down, I find for myself. Okay. So this code is kind of talking about the input mapping, right? It's got, from what I understand, movements. I wonder if this is our movement code. I wonder, so it seems like this is going to be if we wanted to directly code our inputs in the map and then assign it to the character movement script, something like we did yesterday, where it's kind of all built in. It's likely going to be like that, but let's take a look. Extends character body 2D. what it does. This line tells Godot that your script is attached to the node. So the extend line of code, or what would you call that? I'm not actually sure. The extend command, probably. Extend command is referencing to the character body. Why this is important. Character body 2D is designed for characters that move, handle collisions, and respond to physics. It provides the move and slide method, which makes movement smooth and simple. I'm curious to see what this is, so let us open our notepad. Okay, okay. You can see some of my inclement emerald these here. So this actually is what I want to do. Okay. Uh, this is just for me to kind of take some notes on different code that I can refer back to later for like the extend command, things like that, or if I have any questions to ask later after I review this, I'll go back to it. Godot code. Let's just leave it as such. I'm not going to have this for every single line of code that I learn as far as running through the commands. But in the beginning, I do like to do this for the simple stuff, just to start getting the feel and start memorizing how I would learn. I mean, at least it's how I learn. However you do it, it'll work the way you'd like it to. But and here's our move and slide. Let's add the parentheses here. Boom, move and slide, question mark. Let's add an asterisk as well in front just to stay organized. Okay. You know what we can do? We can get some music going here. Chill out. Okay. I love the squirrel or the raccoon. It's a raccoon, not a squirrel. But I love this animation right here. Very lo-fi girl vibe, but and kind of Studio Ghibli feeling. Okay, there we go. All right. Now the second line of the code is going to be talking about variables for movement. Or variables for movement. This is a comment, so the number sign or the hashtag sign is going to be for code commenting, which is great for me to know, and I'm assuming that's how it is through most programming languages. Our music here is a little loud. Let's go. I'm not sure how the ambient or the background noise sounds of this, but we shall see. Actually, I wonder if this sound changes for it or if it's all the same. No, let's just go back to our yield, listen, the live stream. Okay, so our comments are made with a hashtag. Very good. Variable speed. So defines the player's movement speed. A higher number means the character moves faster. Um, I'll most likely end up putting a lot of this into an actual document or like a PDF, but for what we need right now, that won't be too bad. Our velocity, this is the real question, or the real thing I wanted to figure out here. A 2D vector representing the player's current movement, direction, and speed is shorthand for 0, 0, meaning no movement initially. So is that the state it starts at? That's a question we can have it expand upon. A 2D vector representing the player's current movement, direction, and speed. Or is that its location relative to its movement? So it starts at 0, 0, moves left, it goes 1 to 2 or something. Or this kind of. We'll see. I'll ask that question here in a moment. Asterisks. Okay. So as a practical, did we assign all these? No, we did not, but I'm not too worried about that now. I can't tell if the background this is too. Yeah, let's get rid of the. That's what it was. Okay. So let us create a script here and start trying to write some code on our own without copy pasting directly from ChatGPT. Let's just make our player script. I go the right place I want it to, yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's do something like this for the time being so I can kind of refer back and forth. All right. Actually, we're gonna go something like. I need another monitor, but for the time being, we're just learning. We're just chilling. We're vibing, enjoying a day. How was your day, guys? Did you enjoy it? Did you have something good and beautiful happen in your life? I hope you did. I know I did. Still breathing, still walking, still moving. That's all you can really ask for, you know? So let's get all this stuff set and organized. Okay. Ooh, a little too far. So I have no good coding habit or skill or anything to that effect, so my code organization is probably going to be awful. We'll learn that as we go. I like to be organized and like to keep things together, but we're just going to try and throw some paint on the wall right now and see if it sticks. Is it extend or extends? Let's try extends. Character body 2D. Okay, are we working? No errors? Very good. Line 2. Okay. 200 equals vector. Does it need a space there? Oh, that's an interesting thing. Vector 2 dot. Wonder if this capitalization makes any difference. Nope. Let's see what the error is that we're getting spit. Vector 2 has not been defined. I wonder if it's still. That's very likely what it is. It's still taking our conversation from yesterday, this one here, and might be pulling its info from that. This music randomly gets a little louder. I like the beats, I like the vibe, but so why don't we do this? Why don't we clear all of our prior memory and start a new? No, because I'll lose Nova. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just make Nova again. Bang. So I do want to take a quick note. When I'm putting in a command like clear memory, it is not clearing our actual memory per se. ChatGPT doesn't really have persistent memory. I mean, it does to a sense, and I'm sure it does in the higher tiers and then higher access levels, things like that. I'm sure it has some sort of persistence, but as regular users, we're not getting that much persistence in our conversations. Um, in the conversation itself, you can always run back and have it refer back. I've said that a couple times now, but you can always have it run back. Here were some little ideas I was testing. I maybe should have ran through that yesterday in this as well. So here's some cool stuff it can do. Also, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but we're recording. We can edit this later, kind of go back through. So right around here is where we started ending yesterday before we got off. Right around here is where we started ending, and I started doing my YouTube checklist, which is always fun. So tell ChatGPT what you're doing. It's going to give you some interesting information. You know, even things that you already know, it might give you different insights, something different that you're not really used to doing. You know, everybody can kind of use YouTube, upload a video, but what you're not usually able to do is, you know, get quick links to your studio when you're ready to rock. It's going to give you a detailed step by step. You know, it even helped me out with my summaries for it, right? Started trying to timestamp and really break this up already. So this is stuff I can copy paste, slap into my YouTube video, call it a day. I did use this yesterday. We did, you know, stream and record. So this is what we ended up using. Typing this out it's forever. Why waste your time? Why waste your time? Why waste your time trying to optimize SEO anymore? Why waste your time, you know, trying to type out documents? I'm a writer. I love to write. But if this can streamline the process where you're not really trying to be creative, you're just trying to, you know, finish the homework, for instance, finish the homework. You know, don't worry about this not being yours, not being something that you created. It doesn't matter. Use it. It is a tool. It was created for our use. It's an AI assistant. That's how it defines and classifies itself. Let it assist you. So let's add the part of GPT was part of the process. I'm trying to be very transparent about my uses in ChatGPT. I'm not trying to dance around that fact. So developing the Obsidian Mantle, we copied all of this in. Yeah, look, I mean, it went through, changed the title to reflect. So it's given me my entire description. Here was my original title, developing the Obsidian Mantle. Dropped some ChatGPT, but I wanted the ChatGPT in the title as well, so people don't, you know, just hop in and not really know what to expect. This project and this process, this devlog, you know, the continuation that we're doing, its primary purpose is to teach me and to learn Godot and to showcase what ChatGPT can do in your life, things that it can help you out with, things that it can help you do that you weren't able to do before. You can go and watch a bunch of YouTube videos and figure things out. I'm still going to be doing that. I still will be doing that, but ChatGPT makes it more interactive for you. You know, you're asking it questions like you would ask a person in some senses. I learn much better that way. Some people don't. Some people just want to, you know, kind of ingest what they see and kind of move on. I have questions to process. I can watch a 30-minute YouTube video, but I'm not expecting to get any of my questions answered. You know, I'm dropping a comment in the comment section, might net an answer, but that's just a whole lot of extra time. With this, anytime I get confused, anytime there's a stopgap, something to that effect, I can ask the question, get the answer, and keep it moving. Okay, so we ran through. It went through our change title. Yep. Now let's create the video description. Yep. Yeah. Here's it specifically. Now let's create the video description optimized fully for YouTube SEO searchability. You can probably still do your own keyword research, and I probably will do my own keyword research, but I want to see how far ChatGPT can take me, to be honest. I want to see what it can do, how well its SEO works. I've done websites in the past. I've worked on a ton, actually. I've done a lot of SEO optimization, a lot of keyword research, a lot of things like that. But I want ChatGPT to do this for me. I want to see how well it'll work. So, from what it gave me, it did seem like decent. I'm not sure key mechanics like this was too good, but that's not a huge deal. I don't really care too much about mouse-based player movement in my description, but that's okay. These things will get changed and optimized later. I believe for the first video, I did slap this in there. It didn't really do too much reading, but it's not a big problem. We can change that. Yeah, here it goes. It's giving us our about, our tools we used, join the discussion. I can give it my Twitch information, all the things. It'll auto-populate this stuff. And it gave me some tags right here. Then I wanted a thumbnail. So I obviously don't have any art created for this game yet or have anything set in stone stylistically. So I asked it to generate a thumbnail for me and kind of optimize it a little bit. And then I wanted to start kind of changing it up because this likely isn't going to be the art we're using later. Gave me this. It's kind of bland and didn't really do too well with the text here. I didn't like the text, so I kind of opted to just kind of keep the Obsidian Mantle in. I did like this art style here, but we likely won't end up with this. But just for the sake of having our first thumbnail, this ended up working. As I go back, or as we actually get the art style created, I'll likely go and change these things here. So then I started working on the YouTube logo. That might be in a different section. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, these are all of our YouTube tags. So I guess, yeah, this is kind of an interesting thing to do as well. So yesterday we created the YouTube channel kind of fresh. We went straight to it, created it fresh. I haven't created it or messed with YouTube ever really. I've made accounts for businesses and uploaded for professional work, things like that, but nothing kind of personal or nothing in my sphere. So I went through tags. This essentially is me starting from the process of creating the YouTube account, getting the YouTube studio stuff set up, and I was asking it questions as I was going. So give me the tags to add in there. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. And then I'm giving some extra stuff here. Then I wanted to separate the list so I can just copy paste it into the YouTube descriptions or in the YouTube studio there, or as you're uploading the video, it has a section for tags. So it'll format it the way you want it to. I wanted to just highlight that quickly as another use case for you. So let's get back to our code. Back to the new chat. So I'm really more interested in actually creating some movement here. So looks like we need a quick refresh. There we go. Okay. New chat. Nova, I would like you to create a player movement script for Godot. So it'll start with extends. Yes. Now it's going with this kinemactic body. I believe it's trying to pull the old Godot code. That's the one thing with ChatGPT. Sometimes it will pull old code, but if you can recognize, you can replace. So the easiest way to do that is to ask it a question, or you can really make it a statement. It looks like Mactic body 2D is no longer used in Godot. You're correct. Yeah. Here we go. And it auto starts fixing this out. So it has the context for both, or it understands the language for both. It might not just understand that you are looking for the updated use or the updated code or the updated commands. So I'm sure 3, 4, 5 years ago, that kinematic code was in use. It seems like it no longer is. All right, so here we go. I could just copy paste this in, but we're not going to learn anything from that. So body 2D. Is that correct? Do I need the capitals? That's a question to ask later. Okay. Hashtag. Movement variable speed equals 200. I wonder if that's an average or a general speed for player movement in Godot. I'll be curious to kind of test that out here in a moment, as far as how fast we can make the character go. Equals vector 2.0. Excellent. I wonder if our code yesterday, let's keep this back in the Obsidian Mantle. I wonder if this code yesterday had our input handling built in. I didn't actually take a look. I'm not going to open another Godot session, but I am, or open our Godot session from yesterday, but I am going to take a look at the code here. Like I wanted it to. We're going to have to search it. I could ask it to search it again. So it does look like it was asking for our input variables yesterday. Okay. So from what I get, you have to, let's just go through, add it in, and ask it questions. Okay. I'm still a little confused on the vector 2.0, so we're going to have it answer that question for us in a little bit. So input handling. Function get underscore input. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. What are our unexpected errors? Is it because nothing's been defined yet? Unexpected identifier and class body. Let's write the code, then have it debug it for us after. I'm sure it's correct, and I just haven't added everything in yet, so it's given us some errors. Here's a tab. Why is this tabbed in? I'm very curious. As I'm not a programmer, I'm sure that's a programming thing. Why is the code tabbed? Let's just copy that line, actually, velocity vector. No. That's a good question for it here in a little bit. This looks a little further down than it should be. All right, so now it looks like we're defining our velocity equals vector 2.0 from before. Mind you, I'm going line by line for this, so I'm trying not to jump too far ahead and look down. So if you're looking at it and you're like, it's right there, it's right there. Well, I'm sure it is, and I probably looked at it down before, but as I talk this process out, it does help me learn a little bit. Make it 2.0. Okay, so enter. Now are those tabbed over? I guess we'll find out. If then statements, here we go, we're coding. Input dot is underscore action underscore pressed. Okay, so that is what this is saying. Very cool. So this is saying our input to the right, but why is it saying UI? That's interesting. Also, you can just kind of directly ask ChatGPT by hovering or highlighting the text when you're in this, and it'll ask. But for now, we're just going to get the code spit for the sake of learning. Okay, that's interesting. I did the quotations and it auto-coded both. So that's very good to know for future reference. UI underscore YouTube. So it looks like quotations is like a direct reference to something else. Because I remember in our project debug, project settings, build show built-in actions, this is probably UI right is what it's referring to. Where did we go? Yeah, it's probably referring to this bad boy right here, which is very good to know. Okay, and tab, is that just a one tab? I don't know if it's a one tab or a two tab. Minimize. Let's say if it's a one or two tab. It's looking like that looks like a lot of tabs. I don't know which kind of tab it is, but we'll ask it about tabbing later. I can go through and just kind of have it step by step teach me the interface, teach me coding, but I want to do it while I'm trying to build the game out too. So that's why I'll be asking a lot of probably questions that I already should have answers to, but I like to go for the kind of top down kind of methods a lot of times. It just works for me. I don't know why. Okay, so let's get this screen format section a little better. Okay. Dot x equals no velocity dot x plus is greater than or equal to. Is that what that's saying? No, that's just saying plus equals. We've got to figure out what that means. Plus equals 1. Why does this seem off? Okay. I'm not I'm not sure if it is this double tab scenario, but I guess we'll figure it out as we go. So it looks like I can simply just copy paste this guy here. If input dot is underscore action underscore press parentheses UI underscore up. No, wait, he wants down first. Jesus Cristo, I thought I already added this. Nope. Getting a little bit ahead of myself here. So I'm interested as to why this is read it out, but we'll figure that out in a minute. Here. Wonder if that makes a difference. Press versus pressed. I guess we'll find out here. Okay, so it looks like we have this. Velocity equals velocity. That looks like it's still underneath the same. I wonder if those tabs make a problem. Not really sure. Guess we'll figure out the tab structure here in a little bit. So I'm curious to see if capitalization really matters on a lot of these things. All right, so it looks like we are back. Function underscore physics. Ooh, that's a space underscore. Tricky, tricky. Colon, is it colon outside? Yes, it is outside. Get underscore input. Colon, or parentheses. So, function obviously means a function within Godot versus a variable versus extends. If statements are pretty easy, that's kind of. But I am curious to see what our physics process delta is. Is that how it's processing our character body's interaction with things? We'll see. So move and slide velocity. Okay. So this is telling me I done goofed. So let's spit our errors in and have ChatGPT debug. I am getting the following errors. Oh, I didn't copy paste, so it's going crazy. Just stop this here. I've corrected the syntax errors in the script. The speed variable is now exported properly for Godot Inspector, and type hints have been added to improve clarity. Okay. Did we change anything from what we had here? Start from the top. Extends character body. No. This at export looks new. Ooh, let me quick refresh, I think, here. Okay, so at export looks new. It is in fact new. Function get input vector 2 also looks new. I wonder if this is how I should have written it to start. Why? Here's something that's interesting as well. If ChatGPT kind of fumbles or if something just gets very confusing, ask it why, right? Why was the old code incorrect? And how exactly, and how did you change it? So I don't want to just know why it was incorrect. I also want to know kind of how it made its changes, just to see how it's thinking about this. Okay. So the errors you encounter are likely due to syntax errors. That was just like the kinematic body thing in the past, which isn't a huge deal. It's probably still trying to go off of when it originally started learning about Godot, and or when people originally started talking about Godot with it. Okay. So Godot 4 has stricter scripting language, GD script, than previous versions. Okay, so it seems like Godot kind of created a bigger or more of a little bit of a cage with the syntax here. Added type hints. So let's just read and learn. Added type hints, float, vector. So vector 2 is to the void. Actually, let's just see if this produces any errors. Oh, why did it say ends? I thought it was extend. Could be completely wrong now. Maybe I just typed it incorrectly earlier. So it's probably still getting the same. Okay, velocity redefined, original and native class character body 2. Too many arguments for move, slide, call expected. So let's see what it has to say here. Ooh. Hold on. So now it's going to start giving us a little bit of a summary because we built some kind of context in before. That's one thing I want to mention. Where did we go? When I asked why was the old code incorrect and how did you change it, ChatGPT is going to take that statement and try and use that to help us better. Everything it's doing is trying to help us in whatever way it can and make intuitive changes on the fly. It's also partially because of Nova, the entity we created in the beginning. I had it try and be assisting and helpful and gave it some of that context. So it's going to try and explain things for us. But as before, it kind of just started spitting the code out and without giving any explanation. As far as where do I think that might have been another conversation, but that's okay. So our summary of fixes. Member velocity redefined. So character body 2 already has a pre-built-in velocity property. So we don't really, so ChatGPT tried to double up our velocity here. And we used the built-in one instead. Too many arguments for move and slide. Operates on the built velocity without needing it as an argument. Removed as an argument. So I think here ChatGPT was trying to do a little bit too much based on our old code. Now the script relies on the built-in velocity property, so let's see if this works. I'm probably not too far off from what we were before. All right, and that's looking a little cleaner here. Delta, line 22. For some reason, it never actually wants to add the underscore in for the delta, but I don't think Godot really minds. I think Godot can still process it. So now, let's do a line by line of the code, of the player movement code. Is that what we hit? Code starting. Line 1. This is what we did a little while ago, but our code last time was broken, so we want to figure it out for the new. Okay, we do know our extends character body 2D code now, so we've got that in the memory bank. Allows player to inherit all movement and collision related functions provided by 2. Okay. You know, and sometimes reiterating these questions just provide a little bit more information and context for you. Like this, for me, is so much simpler than when we asked before. I did refresh, so let me see. Yeah, so we're probably missing a little bit of the old convo because of the quick refresh, but that's not a problem. ChatGPT will do that sometimes if it errors. or if it kind of gets hung up, it could lose previous conversation, which can be annoying, but I find that happens very rarely. Oh, what's going on, TNK? How you doing today, bud? So I find that moves very rarely in a sense. So let's kind of go over this. TNK, how's the audio, if you don't mind me asking? I've been kind of playing around with it to see how it ends up coming through. Okay, so here we're extending our character body 2D here. All right, the export variable, where are we at up here? Okay, export makes the speed variable visible and editable in the Godot inspector. So let us see here. Oh, did not mean for that. What am I doing? So it makes the speed variable visible and editable in the Godot inspector. This allows you to tweak the player speed without changing the code. Interesting. So if we did something here, is that already kind of built in? That looks like it's gonna be a question for us later. I'm assuming in the inspector there is script empty. We haven't assigned it yet, so let me see here. This is cool. All right. Okay. I'm assuming it's going to be somewhere over here, but that looks like it's going to be a question we're going to have to ask ChatGPT here. Okay. TYN, you still with us? No, looks. I honestly cannot tell. Terrible with Switch. That's fine. He made it came and gone, but that's the nature of the business. Okay, so what we got here? We need to get back to our code. Okay. This could be very interesting for us later. If we just set the code and then we can just change it in the inspector without having to deal with it, that could be very good. I'm assuming it's going to be this metadata here. I don't know, but we'll see. I could be very, very wrong, but editor description, yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay. So variable speed equals float. I'm sorry, variable speed float equals 200. Declares the floating point variable named speed with the initial value of 200, controlling how fast the player moves. Declares a floating point. Interesting. I want to figure out what a clarification is on floating points. Okay, so the function code is defining a function. The specific function we're looking to define is getInput, which processes the player input. Vector2 specifies that the function will return vector2 value representing the direction and magnitude of the movement. Okay. So I'm assuming that's just meaning it's referring to our input vectors. One thing we will do here, since we don't really have too many people coming in and out, let's keep the fade out off. There we go. Okay. Variable input vector, vector to 0. The underlying declares a variable input vector and initializes it with vector which represents the vector of both x, y, and z values. That means no movement initially. Okay. So it's based, from how I'm understanding that, it's this the variable input vector, which is wham bam thank you ma'am down here, is going to be 0. So it's trying to refer to it as a state of no movement. That's how I'm interpreting it. That can be wrong. Here's our horizontal and vertical input. That's simple enough. That code stayed the same. I'm curious to see what this is. This might be a true false statement, maybe something like that, like true is this, or I'm not sure, or positive, negative. We have to figure that out as well. Yeah, true and okay. All right. So input action is pressed. Checks the right arrow key to see if it's being pressed. If it's true, it adds 1 to the component of the input vector, moving the player to the right. I want to see the instance with the negative. It subtracts 1, so that just might be some kind of base build then. So okay, so anything to the left is going to be a negative variable. Anything to the right is going to be a positive variable. Same with the up and down. So down is going to be positive, right? Am I looking at that correctly? Down is positive and up is negative. No, yeah, okay. So if we're looking at this here, in our actual 2D, yes, our values here are negative and our values here are positive. Values here are positive, values here are negative. I'm guessing that's what it's referring to with the -1 and the +1. Okay. Yep, simple enough. Return input vector. Input vector normalized converts the movement vector to have a length of 1 if it is not 0, ensuring consistent movement in all directions, prevents diagonal speed from being faster. Converts the movement vector to have a length of 1. I guess we need to define vector in this sense a little bit better for me. Vector. I don't want to waste it. Actually, we do want to use ChatGPT for everything, so we will hold this chat. Make a new chat. Mathematical object used to represent positions, directions, or velocities, either 2D or 3D space. So a vector is going to define our position, our movement, the physics handling, and the math operations of the movement. So normalization vector equals normalize. Okay, so that gives a little bit more clarification. Obviously, I still don't have the full grasp, but at least when I hear the word vector, I know what we're talking about going forward. Okay, let's get to our player movement script again. Oh, wait, right here. Input vector equals normalized. Nope, is that it? Yeah. Okay. So we've got to figure out what the return command is, or what that means. I'm assuming. I don't want to make assumptions on that because I'm actually not sure. Maybe if it goes back to. All right, yeah, we'll just wait. No assumptions. Okay, input vector normalized. So our normalization converts the movement vector to have a length of 1 if it's not 0, ensuring consistent movement speed in all directions. So it's if it's not 0, it's going to be 1, keeping it from being a choppy movement. I guess that's kind of how it'll work. Okay, speed multiplies the normalized vector by the speed variable to control how fast the player moves. Okay, return, all right, there it is. Return sends the final movement vector back to wherever the get input function was first called. Okay, so our return is referencing our vector2 here. Okay, which in turn runs through these as well, in a sense, I guess, since they're part of our get input vectors. Okay. Yeah, that's sounding about right. So this guy is talking to this guy, and probably nothing else, or yeah. Void specifies the functions does not return any value. Why would we want void? That's interesting. Oh, we went a little further than we needed. Okay. Here's our functions, our physics process, underscore delta. Delta has been used every time it's spit out a movement speed code, so I'm curious to see what that is. Float into void. Now, I don't know, as another preference or preface, I don't know if this is actual optimal code. Um, as I learn, I will determine whether or not, I'll check other people's examples and references. That's something we can do in ChatGPT as well. Once we actually get through this bit here, I'm gonna have it maybe try and search the internet for code or kind of see what other people have done to see if it ends up being the same. Okay, we're on our physics processing here. Okay. So our physics process defines a function which is called automatically every physics frame finds the physics process function. Okay. So this section here is defining our physics process. Delta we still don't know, but our delta float is where we're looking at next, represents the time elapsed since the last frame, useful for frame independent calculations, though not directly used here. I'm not really sure what that actually means, or how it would integrate into the game, or how that would work. I'm assuming represents the time elapsed since the last frame. So it's counting our frames per movement. Saying maybe that would be useful for like movement ticks with bleeding effects or like fire effects, maybe. Maybe that would kind of tie into that somehow. That's what I'm rationalizing, but I could be very, very wrong. And our void specifies that this function does not return any value. So I think it's just there for now to hold until it does get used in the future. Also could be wrong about that. Okay, velocity get input assigns the result of the get input functions to the built-in velocity property of the character body. And we defined our velocity. Oh, I guess we don't need to because it's already defined by our character body 2D. Okay. Move and slide. Moves the character based on its current velocity. Handle sliding along the walls. Godot 4, you no longer need to pass velocity as an argument since it's now built in. Script captures player input, converts into movement vector. Okay. So now Can I type in this chat? I don't think so. Ugh, need a little water here before we continue. If this process is slow, it's gonna be slow. I'm not expecting this to, I'm not expecting to build Rome in a day, for instance. This right here is more of a fun project for me to get me to learn. If I was to do this off stream, it would go significantly faster because I'm not talking through the process. But I'm enjoying running it through this way. Talking also helps me learn as well, hearing your own voice aloud. Or talking as if you were talking to somebody. For me, I learn pretty well that way. So let's see here. What I do want to do is maybe cross-reference this code just to kind of see what's going on, but I am going to end up kind of trying to retype this thing out, see if I can do it myself without referencing back too much. We will still have to, but this is more of a, I guess, what am I trying to say? This is more of me trying to just kind of learn. This is me touching things and probably breaking a lot of things just to see how they work. Take the player movement script and cross-reference with any with let's see if this works. I haven't tried having it search online for code after reviewing various player movement scripts for Godot 4. Here's a comparison between your current script and so this is, for me, this is so fascinating. I mean, I've just completely skipped the step of having to go and Google every little, it's finding its sources, it's checking it out. This is something that's directly on the Godot site. Let's see what's here. This is part of the Godot document. So this is actually probably a great save here for me for future reference, or as far as yeah, let's do this here. See, I didn't even think to go to the Godot site because they have a little tutorial for yourself. So if you're looking for some Godot info, check this guy out as well. I don't know if this is the actual official site. Let's try and see. Just, I don't want to send you guys somewhere that pays to go. I'm guessing this is probably, yeah, this is the first Google search, so this is likely their documentation, or Godot's documentation for using the, so, okay. So input action is pressed. This is up here. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Manually construct alternative approach. This method simplifies input handling by directly providing a normal vector based on the divided or defined input actions. Very interesting. So our script does not account for gravity, suitable for top-down movement, alternative approach for a platformer style movement. So we're not really going too much for a platformer. I'm not really caring so much about gravity. Yeah, but this is how it would be if I did have some gravity, or if I'm making a platformer. That's very interesting. We don't have a jump function, which is okay. I don't really need our character to be jumping around for the time being. But let's add some jumping in there, actually. I would like to add some. I would like to add a jump. That would be kind of interesting. Input is action, input is action. Let's wait. I'm gonna keep it within the confines of the ChatGPT code. And then it's gonna spit me out a little video. You know, I mean, can you be any more disappointed? No. You've got to be completely happy with this kind of output here. Now, let's ask it a logical, or let's, I don't know about if logical is the right word, but let's ask it a question here. What would you use for, which code would you use? Let's just keep it simple. I'm curious to see what it'll say. It depends on the different type of game you're developing, but here's my recommendation based on different scenarios. So it looks like it is wanting to take the code from the Godot site a little bit. It looks like it is wanting to optimize it up. Less repetitive code. So instead of having, yeah, what is this, 7 lines of code, it's going to try and dump this in a little bit, which is actually very fascinating. So maybe instead of having all of this craziness, yeah, so maybe instead of having all of this here, it kind of gets thrown in here. That's how I'm assuming. Well, for the time being, let's just test this guy out. And then maybe, yeah, let's test this thing out here. F5 is our button to run. What am I doing here? F5 is our button to run the scene. So we're going to try and run the scene here. Oh, did I set up our input maps? Doesn't look like we did. Okay, let's go. Keyboard keys. LW, LW. Hi, caramba. Okay, so that's cool. We can set extras. W physical. No, no. I want S physical. Why do I keep clicking the name? Okay, so it looks like it's set. F5. Do we got movement? We don't have movement. We don't have movement, so I wonder why that is. We have our collision, we have our player script is actually signed, script here. Ah. Mm-mm. I'm thinking that's it. Oh, no, no. Is right. Okay. So that would be saying if we assign the reason I believe it's not working is if I kept it as the original UI left or UI right, but we're actually making it the direct key currently. Right, left, down. Nope, nope, nope. Let's see if that works. And that does work. Very nice. Solid, clean, sleek movement. Actually, it looks like it jumped a little bit there. Is that because my NVIDIA overlay was loading? No. How good does it feel to get something actually moving? It's so fun, actually. Okay. So we've got movement, people. We've got movement. What kind of messages am I getting? Bug debug process started. Don't beat me up for having a 2060. We're not upgrading the laptop anytime soon. All right. So I do want to keep my code saved. Duplicate. Two. Duplicate. Okay. So let's test this out with. I don't want this guy selected. I want to select this code. Boom. Wait. No. Need it fully clear and then go. Now I need left, right. Now, while this was generating code, if I had specified early on certain things, I think I'm going to be starting to do that as I get more skilled and more technical with the code. I'm able to tell ChatGPT, hey, I'm defining my left as a direct left or right as a direct right instead of it pulling from the base UI left and right. Was it up and then down? Yeah. Okay. Now let's see if this works. Make sure original script is saved. Yeah. Player 2, let's attack this instead. Now, does that add everything to this? No, we currently have 2 players. Player scripts assigned. So it looks like it slaps 2 of these guys on there. What is our warnings? Probably delta. Yep. Where's our delta here? Is there no delta? It's never using the function physics process. There we go. There's the old delta. Still want to figure out what delta means. Is there a way to remove? No, I'm assuming this is how I can attach multiple different scripts to. I wonder if it's better to have it like that, where it's separate scripts. Excuse me. It's separate scripts in the one instance, or if it is simply better to have your player scripts all in one situation for the time being. Can't we just delete this guy? Not really sure how we're gonna run that, so instead copy the old code. Boom. Then we're gonna delete it down here. Just I want to see if the yep. Let's see if we can get some movement with this code. If we can, we may just end up keeping this guy. Because ChatGPT is telling me it's a little bit more optimized, and this code looks like it came direct from the Godot site. Maybe I'll start having it when it's trying to run the code, have it create its own, and then separately reference the internet as well, just to see how other people are doing it or other use cases in this instance. So let me make sure this guy is still attached to this guy. All right, we hit F5. Oh, we hit F6. I wonder if that's for different. Well, it looks like we're moving the same way, so it doesn't feel any different. So it's probably best from now on to go with a movement script like this. A little smoother, puts everything into one line. I mean, I guess their only real difference is input handling. Our float still stays the same, right? Yep. Our float is looking the same. Extends character bodies looking the same. Return input if vector is normal. We're not using vector 2 anymore. Yeah. I think this is how we're going to keep it going forward. Oh, we don't want to do that. Okay. For simplicity, use the top optimized. Yeah, top down movement. Very cool. So we've got our player moving in this environment, in this world of Obsidian Mantle. Ah, it feels great. Why is it not centered? That's fine. Okay. So our player moves. As I'm going through, I've probably missed a lot of things that I was going to go back on as well and take a look at, but that's why we have our notes. I may not do it in this session, but it could be another session that we're going through. Here we go. Let's try and we've got movement going. Let's see what else we can slap on our character here. What else should I add to a player script from a what else should I add to a player script? So this is what I want to ask it, the question, obviously, but I'm going to add a little bit of extra context to it. I have no currently have only created a character in Godot for and nothing else. Just to let it know that it's not needing to interact with anything yet. Let's see what's up with smooth movement while we're still in the realm of moving. So it's adding some friction, I see. It's adding some acceleration. All these things we don't know yet. And let's compare it to our old code. Can you to our old player movement code? No sense of movement or inertia in our beginning one. Very nice. Lacks realism. Instant acceleration isn't how real world motion works. Less engaging. Movement can feel flat. All right. Smooth with acceleration. Our key features. Acceleration gradually speeds up instead of instantly reaching max speed. We don't always need this. I'm trying to think of games where you accelerate as such. And, I mean, we'll see how the acceleration actually looks and how it works. Momentum feel adds weight and responses. Inspector tweaks can be adjusted in the Go editor. I still have to figure this guy out, the inspector tweaks. I'm wondering if it's a built-in variable for whatever, or if it gets added because of the script for some reason. That could be kind of cool. Actually, that'd be very cool. Side-by-side comparison. Look at this. Look at this. ChatGPT is phenomenal. Phenomenal. I didn't even ask for it. And it's giving me a nice, easy breakdown and a table and a chart. If you want fast, snappy controls, go with the old one. If you want smooth dynamics. So let's mess with the new one here. Let's update this code and see how it ends up going. So we had this previously. We've added friction. We've added acceleration. This guy looks the same. Input direction. So this code looks like it's applying our actual acceleration, and this looks like it's doing something with our friction. So if our input direction vector to 0, so basically if it's calling a direction and we're at 0, I'm thinking that's what it's saying. I could be wrong. It's calling a direction and we're at 0. Apply acceleration towards target speed. And this here is going to define our target speed. Maybe. Or it might be trying to talk to. All right. Okay. So if input direction is at 0, here's our comment. This is going to apply our acceleration towards our speed of 200. Oh, that's fascinating. This is a lot of fun, by the way. You can use ChatGPT for everything as far, let me not say everything, but if you want to learn something, I really strongly advise to start using it as a tool for yourself. If you're interested in the topic, if you want to learn how to play music, if you want to learn how to build a computer, you want to learn how to be a mechanic. I mean, there's just it's there, use it, and it's gonna give you information that you wouldn't get from normal means. So velocity, move towards input speed. Else, apply friction when there's no input. So I'm assuming this is going to be like a stop function. So if you stop pressing the D button to go right, it's going to start slowing it down so it's not an instant stop. Let's see how this actually turns out. Any errors? No errors. Muy bueno. Because of the context we built earlier, this is kind of interesting as well. Because of the context we built about our kinematic body and our reference to the site, or our reference for it to Google outside, ChatGPT is going to start more consistently using updated code for Godot 4. Even if you tell it to in the beginning, it might not give back every time. Sometimes you just got to reinforce it a little bit. If you notice it start giving you an input with older information, just remind it, hey, is this the updated Godot 4 stuff? Since I've built the context, and I believe it did save some of this stuff into its memory, I likely won't have to continue. Now, in our next session, I may have to have it refer back. I do like to clean up the memory and clean up conversations on occasion, just so it doesn't pull old context. If you build context weird, and I call it context because that's how ChatGPT is taking everything you say. It's trying to contextually understand what you're saying. So if it's pulling from context from 2 or 3 conversations ago and you're trying to get it in a different direction than what it was given before, it still can kind of end up referring back that way. So what we are left to is test how our acceleration and deceleration feel. But I'm not getting any movement with our WASD keys. I'm curious as to why. Because we did not update it. So what I am going to do is I can probably tell ChatGPT to start manually doing this, but I should start getting a feel anyway for using the code editor. You see, we're learning. If I don't move, I know now we know the code's fine, so if I'm not moving now, it's probably one of these inputs isn't actually assigned properly. So F5. There we go. Does feel a little nicer. Yep, see? Boom, let go of the key, we get a little bit of a stop. Deceleration or friction. Kind of gives a little bit more movement. Now, I'm using just a base sprite, no sprite animations, any of that. That's something we'll work on later. For now, I'm just trying to get the feel of things and how it works. This probably won't end up being the sprite we use later on, but for now, we're doing just fine. Very good. What I do want out of this is I need to start actually doing this for myself. So in our player scripts, we're going to create a new script. Movement. We're going to go PM, test player movement, test. Okay. So for memory extends. Is it extends? Oh. Am I doing that right? No, I must have missed it. This extends. Is it because I did this? Ah, so it looks like capitals do matter in a sense. Now that I have the extends, it should pop this up. Yep, character body 2D. Okay. I do not remember the code to get or the code to get our speed. I know it was floats at export. We're learning, so we're just gonna have to refer back. It's okay. I don't want to look at the whole thing, so we're just gonna export variable speed equals 200. Export variable, is it velocity? No. We forgot the next one too, acceleration. But I didn't add the float. I wonder if this would work. Let's go back here. Godot 4 code. Floating point number is a data type used to represent real numbers. Any decimal values? Okay, so float is basically saying when I want to use actual numbers that aren't flat, I should say. So instead of using 200, I can add some decimals if I needed to. But let's test and see if this will work without using float. I'm pretty sure it will, but let's test that out. Equals, what was its value? It's in the 800s. Let's just keep it that way. At export variable I forgot what the next thing was. Friction. I wonder if I can get a list of. No, I'm pretty sure it wasn't friction, but I don't wanna. I don't wanna cheat too much. We're trying to get this thing into our memory. Oh, it is friction. Pfft, we the man. And I say we because all of you are also very beautiful people. Oh, all right, equals. I'm curious to kind of test those values later as well. Now I do know we need to start adding our inputs. Function get. All right, we're gonna need to cheat here. Oh, it was function. Function, and then I kind of did cheat and look. Physics process delta float. I wonder if that saved this from our other script, or if this is just a base call towards our physics process. Delta underscore in front of here. And then float is always going to mean a number. Ooh, I can float the acceleration, so it must be calling back. Float void, so we're keeping this as void. But I don't know how to actually do that. Just line and arrow void. So this is saying there's not an actual value here. I wonder what would happen if we change that. We'll try and find that out later. Try not to cheat too much. Variable input direction. How was it called up? Input underscore direction. And now, ooh, yep. Was that in quotations? Yeah. To the left, comma. We're just gonna try it. I wonder if it matters the order. It probably doesn't, but I definitely think I'm missing something. Input, so our input direction needs to actually equal these guys, or we need to call the input get vector code. So input get vector would mean positional movement. So it's okay. So our input direction is going to equal our input vectors, our input get vector. Still need to understand all the little bits of the code instead of just memorizing the usage. Like it'd be nice to eventually understand what it's getting and how it's getting for kind of everything. But this is a process. This is a process. I'm about to start freestyling here. Okay. Equals input dot get get dot direction get underscore vector. Variable input direction equals input get vector, commas in between. I guess there needs to be any spaces, but not really too worried at the moment. Ooh, I wonder if we tabbed this in. We did. We did. Muy bueno. So now we're saying if our input direction Ooh, there should be an underscore. Is at 0, meaning, yeah, that's exactly it. So if our input direction is at vector 0, colon. So if our input is at vector 0, that's when we begin our acceleration. And I'm rehashing a lot of this because we're learning. Hashtag, now we're doing this for the code. Comment. Excellent. If I actually should have probably write the code. I'll be quite honest, I do not remember any of this, of what would be next. Velocity. Velocity equals move underscore toward. So this is saying our velocity is going to equal velocity move toward whatever our input direction that we're putting in. Underscore direction, multiplying it by speed, if I remember. Yep. Accelerate delta. Let's figure out what delta means. I need to. Delta is probably some kind of base state or base character function or something to that effect. Oh, okay. So delta is the time elapsed. I was way off. Very interesting. I was way off on that. So delta is going to ensure our game mechanics behave consistently, regardless of whether the game is running at 30 or 144 FPS. So does that also mean does underscore delta do the same? No. Ooh, okay. So this is good info. So let's read through what else delta is doing here. Frame rate independence, smooth movement, using delta and underscore process. We're not going to hop into process yet because we haven't reached an instance where we need it. Right? It wasn't in our previous code. Oh, the physics process. So actually, it looks like we do need it. Okay. So see, I'm just asking about delta, and it's telling me about their physics process. And I do believe it is kind of going based off of our context from these conversations. Using delta in process. Right. For visual updates, so when we're using delta is to visually update our UI, our transitions, movement collision detection. Okay, so regular delta is simply time in frames per second and how the game relates and correlates whatever the piece of code is to our frames. That's what I'm guessing. But our physics process delta is for movement collision detection and physics calculation. Delta equals time, used both for different purposes. Okay. Correct parameter name by Godot. I do want a little bit more info on our process here. getting sleepy and tired here, so our typing's getting a little slower. It's a built-in callback that automatically calls every frames when the node is attached to its active. So it's a callback function that is called every frame while the node it's attached to is active in the scene. Okay, so if our player has a helmet at some point and the helmet has a fiery animation, we want to make sure that fiery animation is always set in the scene. Or if I need it to call back for some reason to change the animation, I'm guessing I'll be using process delta. Yeah, that sounds about right. How long we've been streaming for? We're going on 2 hours, 2 hour video. It's not too bad. We haven't done much more differently than we did yesterday, but we're doing a little bit more learning today. We made a player move yesterday, but we didn't really know how they move. We just copy pasted some text. Okay. Oh, but did we get a better explanation of process? No, we didn't even look into process. The process is only used in. I'll use ChatGPT did a thing. Sometimes when their servers are wonky, you'll get things like this happen if they're doing updates or they've got um, a lot of traffic. This will happen. Is in used in. Might need to refresh. Yeah. Jesus Cristo. Ironically enough, I don't get too many of these problems on mobile. A lot of times it's there we go. So it's designed to work with Delta. So we maybe need to give it a little bit better question and frame the question a little bit better. I'm trying to determine if the underscore process function or command is only used with Delta. Process. We didn't get a. Not. And combine other code. I only want to know what its function is. Let's see if that provides a better. So it looks like process and delta, those are just combined. Could be wrong. Might need to Google this one. Game's running a loop. Each frame you need to update the state of your game world before drawing it into the screen. Godot provides two virtual methods, the node class, node process, and node physics process. There are two types of processing available to you. Idle allows you to run code that updates a node every frame as often as possible. Physics processing happens at a fixed rate, 60 times per second. Okay. We are going to take a quick break here as I have to use the bathroom. All right, we are back. Very good. Okay. So we ended up on me trying to figure out our player scripts. Move towards input direction times speed times acceleration. No, it's not. What? I don't know if we want speed times acceleration here. Um, but we are timesing it by delta, which now we know is the frames that get processed. Or it's the command that keeps our movement updated. You're not getting me today, malware bytes. No, sir. Okay. Now we come back. We need to get our else statement. And this is probably all wrong. I've got to figure out why that's wrong, but we'll take a look in a little bit. Else. Got to be lowercase, probably. Yes. Is our if lowercase? Yeah. Enter tab. Friction. That'll probably be very similar to the previous code, just replacing. Oh no, it's not similar whatsoever. I guess it's saying, hold on, let's write the code. And, Factor 2.0, so we know that that's still friction times delta. So it wasn't too far off, just calling back to different things. Oops. So this is just calling to the movement slot. All right, now let's try some self-diagnostics here. What is this saying? Line 7. Dot after function declaration. So how does ours look different? Nope. Variable underscore input direction equals input dot get vector. So maybe this thing right here? Nope. I wonder if it's because we didn't add the float here. It'd be interesting to see. Input direction equals input dot get vector. I mean, we're cooking with gas, so maybe we do have to add float after. Ay, caramba. The red lines is popping. Still not sure why this function isn't working. Unexpected indent in class body. This guy? No. Well, since we can't identify it ourselves, so we're gonna do this because we have human eyeballs here, and I don't really know what I'm looking for as far as what's incorrect. From my visual, everything is looking similar, but I could be very wrong. Ah, our float needs to be inside the delta function. Or inside the delta command block, maybe? Func underscore physics process. Underscore physics process. This needs a colon. Waha. Okay. All right, 6. That's fine. 6. Our velocity is done goofed. So I have the lowercase 0. Use the uppercase. And I need a colon after else. Nope, that's not it. Oh, I guess it does need a colon. And Control Z. We lost our else. Hmm. Hmm. Intention and syntax. It's got to be aligned. I am very confused. So the one thing I am noting is that this bad boy doesn't directly indent the way it should. Okay, so it looks like I just had a bunch of indentions I did not need. Oh, what have I done? Hmm. We're definitely going to need to practice that significantly. How to get the indention and maybe actually just do a class on that sometime. Okay. Um, I think we've got a good overview of setting character movement now. It's obviously not 100% slammed into my brain yet. Oh, look at this. Gotta run this guy back. Excuse me. It's obviously not slammed in there yet. But uh, on our next iteration, we're gonna try and duplicate it and rerun the process without any help. But for now, let's play around with adding some extra feature. I'd like to see how that kind of ends up working. Okay. A dash mechanic. Um, I think a health and damage system, or at least, yeah, some kind of HP bar would be kind of cool now. Camera follow. Um, we kind of touched on camera a little bit before. Actually, let me see if I can do that now. Get back to our 2D. Okay. Camera 2D. I think that needs to be set to our character. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if that'll just follow. I'm not even sure we're moving now. Okay, so we'd have to probably just add a white background to see if it moves. Not sure how we would add something like that. If I remember, it was what are we doing? Some kind of layering canvas layer. Is it a canvas layer? I'm not sure. Oh, cool. Let's get it back to where is that? Okay, so we're not sure, but I think the camera does set up and follow. But since I don't really have a background, we don't know if it's actually moving because it's staying static and stuck to the character. That's something we can work on late at another point in time. All right, let's do dash mechanics. That sounds great. Okay, so wow, it added a timer and everything. So what stayed the same from the last time? Our acceleration, our deceleration, all in here. Now we're adding, when we dash, this is going to be our command for dash. When we dash, this is going to be our speed. This is going to be the duration of the dash. And this is going to be the cooldown time between dashes. But how are we going to know when to dash? Or is that something we're going to have to input? Like clockwork. Let's see what like clockwork is. Actually, I'm gonna get too much into the dashboard. Mm. Need to map the dash action. I don't need cheap viewers, bud. Appreciate it though. Adjust dash speed, dash duration. Yeah, we want high quality viewers here in the stream. The best of the best. All right. Need to map the dash action. Let's map it with the let's map it with spacebar. Um, see what that would look like. Uh, okay. Yeah. And now we're gonna map it to spacebar. Very, very good. Let's go of new code. Don't really need explanations on the old stuff. Let's go with the new. Oh, but it's still gonna go with a little bit of the old there. So I'm curious where it calls to the dash input. This is our dash timer, cooldown duration. It's still left, right, up, down. Aha, dash. This is where it is called to dash. No, we don't have any errors. That's a good sign. That's F5 and C. I'm not getting a dash. Oh, no, we got a little bit of a dash. Hold on. No, that might have just been... It definitely doesn't look like a dash to me. Why would that be? Looking like that is what it would be. Nope. Then it's got to be the way Let's debug. Did you add the dash? So dash input mapping. I'm pretty sure we're set here. Let us see, let us see, let us see. Um, let's just see what this error is given. Too many arguments. I bet I don't need velocity in here. It's gotta be the mapping then. Hmm. Let's just try R for the sake of R. Zilch. Nada. Maybe. Let us see. I wonder if The dash logic relies on the velocity property. You're gonna add velocity again? No. Apply dash velocity immediately. Hmm. Okay. So now it's deep dive in by asking or by printing to actually see what's going on here. This is crazy interesting. We can get to that later, but for now. So I'm not getting any messaging. So I'm assuming. Okay, so our input is still just mapped incorrectly. Did I spell it wrong? I mean, this is looking mapped like the others. I don't think this will work, but oh, I'm a goofball. I'm probably using the wrong test script for this. Goofy, goofy, goofy. Remove. All the errors. Okay. We dashing, baby. We dashing. Okay, so I'm a goofball. I got quiet there because I was trying to lock in and figure out exactly what was going wrong. I had the two scripts from the beginning, um, and I was editing the wrong script. So we do have the dash now. So not only do we have our movement, oh, we dash. Uh, that's actually phenomenal. We are going to stop there today. I know we didn't actually achieve too much, but I did learn quite a lot actually from the session. Trying to figure out how to solve problems that I don't have answers to using ChatGPT has been quite fun. So, um, going forward, a lot of this stuff will probably start speeding up and getting better, and I'll be able to do these much faster. It's just a learning process. So, I thank you for watching. I thank you for taking the time to watch, and have a wonderful day. Enjoy yourself, and I hope you keep doing better.